was holding back.
So now's not the time.
Feel free to have,
You can count on
I was
me.
waiting for the juicy stuff to come out.
As long as you're comfortable.
I don't care, John.
I think everybody's pretty well is adjusted to that part of me.
I like to tell people just in case.
I know.
Okay.
When has that ever stopped you, right? It's true thing, true thing. But I prefer to have the people in front of me so I can see their responses. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm gonna get it. Does everyone realize it's in-house?
You've been home before down for me?
Sign my petition.
Huh?
Should, right?
Okay.
We only had one inquiry
Was me.
about it. Okay,
Commissioner?
yeah, the commissioners. So I haven't heard from anybody yet. Normally.
Are you good?
I need
Is
to-
it working?
She's so cute.
Well, ain't you a hot
She's
chick?
such-
There's time for both.
She's the best kid.
I like those headphones. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's just the best kid. She, yeah.
I need to.
And we're going to Steamboat with Cooper and Gracie tomorrow.
Ooh.
It's, it'll be fun.
All right, we're live.
Okay. So we're gonna go back to remote after this meeting and
Probably.
because of,
Makes a lot of sense. Delta.
yeah,
Yeah, nothing's been kind of official yet, but it
Right.
wouldn't surprise if we went back. Yeah.
Well, the mayor was talking about having the next city council meeting
yes, I called him.
as,
One
the
by
regular
two.
meeting.
Is that
and then going
I
back
have
to
the,
Zoom or.
Zoom on it.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
But
Mike had called him and then I
It is what it is.
Man, I gotta
Good
do
night.
some research. He didn't know.
Because doesn't he have the note on it?
This is pretty.
So Bill would be.
Did I miss that?
There's-
Yeah, this
There's
is
gotta
from
be
PC.
something.
This is the original
to
file
it.
of the town. It's drawn by the original surveyor.
pretty much, yeah.
Who is,
So,
this is
um,
Doyle guy.
How I
God.
was in the original agreement this week and we're all different places.
It doesn't seem normal. When, that wouldn't be your fault.
Y'all gonna let me come in here and carefully take this thing apart and shoot it with your camera?
At least I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we just got it. We just got it.
Carly-
This is
I don't want
incredible.
to-
Yeah,
Yes.
digital
She
photo.
did, Bill.
Yeah, and put it in our archives. This is amazing.
I think that's at least for
I love
tonight.
this.
Oh, it's
So what do I
fine.
do if you're not taking in current traffic? I mean,
It's
I
a,
need to
it's
come
a
in here.
person.
So I'm gonna set it on a table like this,
So we
take
do
it
have
to
two
the part,
action items here.
bring my own tools and put it back together just like I found. Yep. I gotta
That's
get
the
the glasses.
minutes. So the agenda, we have.
Well, yeah, 'cause
approval
I
of
have to do
we
that.
have a public hearing
Okay.
for the, cemetery. We're looking for a recommendation on that. And then we
So
have
he said-
acceptance.
Hello, how are you?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was.
Ah.
And then
So
once
we
get all the
are
way to
doing
the
a
bottom,
public
Look at your second agenda.
I-
Ready to run, girl?
Coming up just a little bit.
I'm gonna.
Hey there, how are you?
This feels strange.
I know, it does, and then,
then.
yeah, I think having known we were gonna go to mass.
After what we almost went through 2 years ago?
I think had we known we were gonna do mass.
For,
Yes.
like state.
3 in a row.
And all that type of
Okay.
stuff, but I've been there, I've been through it.
Oh, yeah.
2022.
And going cold.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
or
isn't
very
it-
cold. It's quite
The same
humid.
rules.
Yeah, exactly. It's hot, it's super hot and cold.
Yeah, and
So-
Yeah,
that
that's
we
your
have
spring.
scheduled meetings, so
Spring is
we don't
about a
have a
week.
meeting.
It's 70 for a week.
Are you talking about how many?
I saw
months?
that
A
this
little
in a row.
after.
The bylaws say
I know, I know, but by the way, it's, it comes down to the planning commission to make that determination, so.
Yeah.
I think you get
Yeah,
to call it.
well, and with her as an alternate, I mean, I agree with it, if you miss 3 in a row in your regular meetings,
Depends on how
then
much.
a person should.
Unless they're sick or
My
something
sister
like
lived.
But I'm gonna petition.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go.
Snow that fell in.
So I can drink my
November,
opinion
so
on-
March,
Oh,
right?
that's
Yeah,
why I
I
know
was
this.
I was gonna say, it might not be March.
I think so. Did you catch it?
Didn't still get
2
snow.
weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
doesn't-
That
yeah.
Yeah,
Did you?
go part of Wisconsin.
Did you test positive
The Arctic
so
Circle
far?
Park.
I-
Oh,
Years ago.
yeah,
I was
that,
sick with
then
a
the
sinus
snow does
infection
stay
the week
forever,
before
yeah,
that.
Uh-huh.
absolutely.
And I didn't overstate, but I couldn't get my gear up the stage. I was one of the last to leave.
Yeah, I don't like.
Dude, I
it.
got home and I'm not kidding. I was-
Oh, it didn't,
Worst
see, it
part.
didn't hit me from that, it hit me
But
from
the night of
before
the
that.
You
18th,
love me,
I
that's
couldn't
why.
feel my body.
don't know.
I can't
I'm
smell
like
it.
And then
that.
from there I got better.
Well, you
I
have,
just whizzed right through it.
I think if
I
you
still
do-
can't really like, I taste it, I smell.
Yeah, I have no
But
taste or
I
smell.
blazed
How long
it.
has it been?
3 weeks now.
Yeah. This,
They say a month to 5 months. and-
yeah.
Okay,
We should go,
so
yeah.
I guess we can start. Everyone's good?
Yeah.
Chuck, do you wanna move over closer? I guess it doesn't matter, they can see.
Uchi won't be able to make it. She has, personal whatever, but she's fine, but she just can't make it tonight.
Okay, we'll call to order the regular planning commission for August 4th, 2020, roll call.
What time is it?
6:01,
Cindy Olsen,
here.
Kate Collier,
Yeah, here. Sorry.
Chuck Howard,
Here.
Tracy Stokes.
Here.
John, can you zoom Uchi in on it? She wants to watch it.
They can, it's not on Zoom, they have to log on to this.
Okay, let me just respond to her before we.
Okay, approval of the minutes from April 28th, 2021. And I have a motion for the minutes. I can't make it. Somebody has to-
Oh, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 28th, 2021.
And I'll second it.
Any comments? All in favor, yes.
Aye.
Yes.
I no. Okay, motion passes. Losing my place here. Okay, now we'll go to a public hearing. It's a public hearing on August 4th, 2021. With the regular meeting of the Idaho Springs Planning Commission. We don't need a roll call again, do you?
No,
Okay.
just open the public hearing.
Okay, and we'll open the public hearing at 6:03 PM. And we'll start with staff report.
All right, thank you very much. Before you this evening is a rezoning of the Idaho Springs Cemetery. So in late May, the Plan Commission and the City Council approved the annexation of the Idaho Springs Cemetery. And a part of the code states that within 90 days of annexing a piece of property, it needs to be zoned. And so this is that following action. We are recommending that the 66.45 acres consisting of 4 parcels out there be zoned P for park and recreation. A couple items to look through, whether the proposed zoning is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The parcels that make up the area of the Idaho Springs Cemetery annexation, they're within the Chicago Creek area in the 2017 comprehensive plan. That plan focuses on tourism-oriented hospitality uses. Now, this is not really one of those. We don't think that this is extremely tourist focused. However, it is a unique part of the history of Idaho Springs. And therefore, we thought that it would fit best in that park and recreation setting rather than a residential zone or something else. There are a number of other provisions, but many of the other provisions aren't as applicable because it is city-owned property and we are looking at it from a parks and recreation perspective. I'm happy to go over any of the other ones, but staff feels that this is a standard land use and we're not really proposing any changes at this point in time. With that, I'd ask if there are any questions of the staff report.
Jared, is there any reason why somebody would be worried that if it was zone park and rec, that we would come in and change it or alter the landscape as it is? Is there any reason that could that happen if we decided to dig up all the graves and move them someplace else? Which we would never do, of course, but, I'm just asking.
So there's always the option for the city to go back through another rezoning process. You always have that as an option. In regards to moving graves, et cetera, that is typically extremely challenging because you have to contact all of the next of kin normally, et cetera. And that's something that the city is most likely not up for doing. So that's my.
I just wanted to put it out there in case that was a concern of anybody's. I figured it was gonna be highly, highly unlikely.
And if I may, if there is development proposed in the future, as I mentioned, going through another process such as rezoning or an FDP or both, would still get notice sent to the surrounding property owners, just like it was here in this process.
Excellent, thanks.
Then it'd have to come back to us.
Right.
The applicant, that would be us still,
That is
right?
the city.
Okay, so any more comments on that? Any more questions from looking at the applicant side of it?
Been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay, then we'll go into public comment. Anybody signed up for public comment?
I didn't know you had incentive. I just wondering why it's getting rezoned. Is there a reason for it? Something better than when you rezoned it, or what's it about?
You wanna go ahead?
Okay. If, as I mentioned, so I think the other side of that question is why was it annexed? And I think it's just been outside of the city for so long, but it's yet owned by the city and it's a part of the city's history, that the city came to the conclusion that they would like to annex it. And then as a part of the annexation process, we're required to zone it something. And that's why we're going through this process, is to rezone it to park and recreation zoning, which only allows for certain things. Cemetery is an allowable use in that zone.
So it won't become a parking lot.
No,
Oh, gosh.
Absolutely
no,
not.
no.
and just for the record, the city also maintains it, so there is some sort of continuity that goes along with all of that.
Can I comment?
Oh.
My name's Craig Hernizen. I own 740
Are you
and
okay with that?
760, which is directly across from Idaho Springs Cemetery. It's already becoming a parking lot. Just because it's getting used. It's
mean like
pretty
people
much, it's pretty much a turnaround for all the rafting companies in the whole county. And as far as I know, the city doesn't actually own the entrance. I think that's owned by the state.
You're talking at the bottom, the V where
I'm talking to
people,
the entrance of the
Right.
cemetery.
That would be CDOT if that was there right away.
So there is a small portion of that entrance that is the state's right of way or the road.
I
So
think it's
CDOT.
actually probably a little more than small, but my concern is, I bought the property 740 and 760 in 1989. I've lived there since 1987. I would say in the last 6 years, the cemetery gets used quite a bit.
okay,
Not
I just,
always, not, if I can finish. please.
well, this is
always-
not a council meeting, so like
Well-
some of those with the parking and stuff like that would be an issue that you would come to council for.
Well,
This is just for the rezoning of it, and then we
I'm trying to
recommend it
figure
to
out why
council.
you're even doing it. It's
Well-
been in the city as long as there's been a city. And I know that.
It hasn't, though. That's part of the
Jared
reality.
stated that this is what concerns me. Things that we think are far-fetched I've seen happen now in this town. You talk about, well, it'd be pretty unusual for them to move bodies, get a hold of everybody and rezone it to
Diane,
residential.
are you keeping track of the time?
Yeah, I do believe that that would be very
Well,
unlikely.
I would hope so.
That's definitely an opinion, not based in, true hard fast fact, but I do know that there are no plans to make any of those changes.
Well, that's reassuring.
Okay, you guys, I'm sorry to have to break this off, but you do have to sign for the public comment and they're limited to 3 minutes. So we're kind of getting off track here. So let me go back to, do we have any other public comment?
No.
Okay. Any questions from any of the commissioners here? Okay, so any other questions for Jared? Just want to make sure. Okay. So with that, we'll close the public hearing at 6:10 PM. And I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve the rezoning of the Idaho Springs Cemetery to Parks and Rec.
And if it's a recommendation to council,
Right,
right?
That's correct, yeah.
So that should be in the motion.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, as a recommendation to council, thank you.
Okay,
I will second it.
okay, roll call?
Cindy Olsen?
Yes.
Kate Collier?
Yes,
Or, Chrissy Stokes?
Thank you.
have a good night, guys.
Thanks,
I'm
guys.
not
Good
allowed to
night.
vote.
You're
Oh, I am.
replacing
Yes,
Yeah.
You're sitting.
sorry.
Chuck Howard.
Yes. No, I'm not Chuck Harmon. I did his name, but I'm not.
I got it.
He doesn't want that job.
No.
Okay, the next item is the acceptance of the post-construction alignment of Colorado Boulevard. Can I ask a question first? Who's this gentleman?
He's our new lawyer.
Team.
You're,
City
oh, I
attorney.
did not know that. I'm sorry. I'm Cindy. You don't have to get up. You go
Joe
ahead.
Rivera, I'm with, I work with Carmen Buren with the law firm of Murray Dahl.
Okay,
I've done some work previously for this,
okay.
for the city, mostly a condemnation and other litigation related matters.
Okay.
And I'm gonna help you now with the planning commission from here forward.
Okay,
I've done a lot of
because
land use
Nina's
type
not, okay,
litigation.
that makes sense. Okay, thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you.
You know, yeah, I
Welcome
came
aboard.
in and I meant to say something, then I started chit chatting with everyone else, and it's like, wait a minute, I still don't know who this guy is sitting here.
Apologize that we didn't do that introduction.
It's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
And your
Okay.
first name again?
Joe.
Joe, all right, we got you, Joe.
Okay, so, okay, acceptance. Go ahead, Jared.
Yes, absolutely. So, a few years ago, when Colorado Boulevard was realigned and all of that work was done, there were a few, loose ends that we kind of wanted to straighten out, make sure that we knew exactly where that right of way was. The city has hired, a surveyor to conduct this, or to draft this plat. And, they have, done a very nice job of putting together this land survey plat that, that not only memorializes the exact right of way of Colorado Boulevard, but he went out on site and did put in some markers as well, so it should be easier to find in the future. Should be easier for the residents, whether they be commercial or residential, of that street to know where their property lines are, and for us to work on any potential future development that that they may request in the future. With that, I did want to make a quick comment. The plat that I have in front of you is marked preliminary. It's only marked preliminary because the city attorney did take a look at it, provide some comments. We have the final plat as well. It was just the only tweaks were to a little bit of the text, and that updated final copy will go before the council on Monday's meeting. So that I did want to make you aware that there's just a couple minor tweaks to the language on the plat.
I know, I can't see anything.
Read that, right?
Yeah, right.
Jerry, do you mind just pointing out that, that this is just a courtesy to planning commission so that people understand why you're doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is not a public hearing. This, when I talked with Attorney Beery, she said this is kind of a special little procedure that's found in the Colorado state statutes that allows us to accept this plat without having to do subdivision, that whole procedure that would have to go through a public hearing and all of those items. So it's kind of it's more of a cleanup item, but it is a special procedure that allows us to do this.
Well, I appreciate you bringing up this kind of stuff to us, because we do get
Right.
questions from constituents, and we want to make sure that we have the answers when we can.
So with that, we don't need a motion on the ordinances that go to city council.
We would request a recommendation.
Oh, do you want one? Okay,
Yes, please.
okay. I thought as just an information side.
Just as
Okay.
a move of recommendation to forward it to council, is that good enough?
Yeah,
All right, there we
believe
go.
under the state statute,
Under
they
the
just
state statute.
request that they be reviewed by planning commission and the council.
Excellent, thank you. You got that, Diane? Yep. You said it exactly the way I would have.
Roll call?
Oh, I miss these days.
Cindy Olsen,
Yes.
Kate Collier,
Yes.
Tracy Stokes,
Yes.
Chuck Howard.
Yes.
Okay, the monthly report, are we going into a work session on that?
The monthly report we still have as a part of our
Okay.
original meeting, so,
Go ahead.
okay. Just do a quick update for you on that. I put together just a short report in regards to some activity that's been occurring in the planning division. First of all, proposed housing at 2800 Minor Street. Staff, I've been in communication with the property owner and talking about how they could potentially move forward with a development on the property. Habitat for Humanity, I did want to give you a status update that the city council had approved the final development plan at the July 26th meeting. Annexation and rezoning of the Iowa Springs Cemetery, we're in the midst of, as you just recommended action to the city council. Post-construction alignment of Colorado Boulevard, basically the same status update. Redevelopment of Gold Digger Field / Block 57. We do have an application for a planned unit development, a rezoning, and a preliminary plat for that location. You should be seeing that here in the near future, come before Plan Commission for review and public hearing. Some other activities, HPRC will meet this month to talk about a couple of different locations here in the city. Mostly city, well, only city projects.
Jared, can I ask, can I interject?
Yeah.
So is one of those projects, one of the HPRC's buildings in the historic district that is under renovation right now?
So the HPRC, at the last meeting, approved a certificate of appropriateness for the bathroom windows. So that one is squared away. Now, the two items that will be coming before HPRC will be other properties, one on the far east side and one closer to downtown.
Okay.
Soda Creek Highlands, property owner met with staff to discuss potential future application. We've had some inquiries about the Twin Tunnels property. And then several inquiries in regards to administrative plat amendments to combine some pieces of property or to move some parcel lines. That's a staff function. You don't have any solid applications yet, but I've talked with about 3 individuals about doing some of that work. And then, of course, other zoning and inquiries from residents and developers. I'm happy to take any questions about the report.
I don't have any. I thought this was good and just keeping us up to date on the ones they're working on, which the questions would have been probably 2,800.
Right.
If we had heard anything more on that, and the same with Soda Creek Highlands. Yep. So
And if I may, since I am new at this, is it customary for me to go through the report, or is it something that you review and just ask me questions? How would you like that? in the
I think
future?
it's given the meeting. I think it's kind of nice to kind of go through it quickly.
Okay.
Not going into all detail, but if it's a heavy loaded night, yeah, I think sometimes we're comfortable with reading things, at least I am.
Yeah, the nights like this, I like it to be on, so that it's out
Yes,
in the ether so everybody can hear about it. But if it's a 3-hour meeting, then I would be like, can we just note that we do have a very heavy,
right.
Jared has a heavy, menu going on, and just check it out on our website if you will, or however you're gonna, are you gonna use Jonathan for getting the word out there? Or are you gonna, what's gonna?
I have been
Everybody uses
working,
the word
I've been working
Jonathan.
closely with John.
He's really good at getting the word out, so that's what I was suggesting, so.
Okay,
Yeah, no, so
Excellent.
this was perfect, just simple, it doesn't have to get into a long drawn out.
okay, fantastic. I just kind of want to make sure that, that everyone, approves of kind of how that runs.
Okay, thanks, Terry.
Okay, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting of August 4th, 2021, and it's 6:20. Yeah. Okay, and then we'll go into the work session. Gosh, approximately 7. That's fine, if people are listening. A quick question on this. Now, are these are the ones that Barb and them were working on, and we were gonna go through them before Jared started, and that was the meeting that we said, wait a minute, let's not do this, let's wait till Jared's on board and get Jared's way of doing it as being the new city planner, then reinventing the wheel after you got here. Did you find that you had to make any changes to it, or?
So I made some changes. Honestly, I shortened it for now. I
Perfect.
took out a few items, and a part of that was out of a desire to introduce myself to the commission. I know that you've worked on some of these items, and I don't necessarily want to stray from that too far. But at the same time, I did kind of want to get a feel for what the planning commission thought was appropriate to change, what was kind of on your preferences to start moving towards.
You know, we really didn't get into a whole lot of these because we cut it off because of the thought, let's wait until we have the hired city planner here. So I think just take off of what you've got here and let's discuss them. I don't think any of us have any set ideas on any of these items yet. Would you agree?
I do agree. I do think that there's a couple people not here that probably would have strong feelings about,
They should be here.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and
But
That's, yeah.
yeah, but go ahead if you want to, however you want to present this, go for it.
absolutely. And this is a working session. As I mentioned, I did kind of pull back on a few things just because I did want to get to know everyone a little bit better and get a feel for the commission. And I'm happy to, take any comment, any discussion, and then build upon it for the future, make some changes to this document as well, if deemed appropriate. But to start off, first of all, there were a number of definitions that had been targeted by, Community Matters and I believe a few other bodies. And first of all, it's the accessory buildings and structures for use. So I guess it was, the previous language was just about accessory uses. And so this is adding in their buildings and structures to try to make it a little more holistic, a little more comprehensive. So the text that is struck out are things that we're proposing to remove from the ordinance. And then the things that are underlined are items that we're proposing to add. So we are proposing to add a new definition for accessory building structures or use. And it has 3 additional points underneath it. That it's clearly subordinate in nature, is operated and maintained under the same ownership, includes only those structures or structural features consistent with the use by right. So this accessory uses are sheds, garages, decks, patios, etc. And this we're proposing to replace that old definition. Another definition, caretaker units.
Do you
Yeah.
want to kind of go through the definition that you're proposing?
Sure, did you want me to go through it further than that? Okay.
Well, you're looking for some direction to move forward with these, so I think now's the time, yeah, if, in case there's something that we're not liking or want to strike from it, so you can keep moving forward with it.
I just want to make clear one thing I do have for accessory building. That doesn't, so it doesn't look like it's including someplace where someone can live.
So,
In a nutshell.
I think if you go down, the
So it's a
one, the
caretaker,
caretaker.
yes, but that's under accessory, so isn't that kind of like, wouldn't accessory be in big bold letters, and these are the other kinds of accessory buildings that you could have?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
I took them as all different, but. that's a good
So
point.
I think what you're referring to is
Sorry.
what the planning and local governments call an AUD, an accessory dwelling, or ADU, accessory dwelling unit. That's, I don't believe is really contemplated in this definition,
Okay,
but it's something that if you'd like, I can do some research on, make sure, I can't think off the top of my head if we have an accessory dwelling unit ordinance. I think there is something in there. But if we want to sharpen that, I can bring that back to you.
I think it's something that we do have happen in the community, and it probably does need a definition. I think what Kate was asking is, okay, the heading is accessory building structures or use, and then it goes down, is caretaker under accessory building, or is caretaker unit its
a
own?
new thing.
That's a new definition,
Okay,
that's a
that's the way
separate
I looked at it.
definition.
Okay,
Yeah.
so-
And then porch would be an extra,
Another
so they're
thing.
not under, okay.
So,
Yeah.
but just using accessory building is gonna get, at least for me, confusing for an ADU. Does anybody else agree with me?
So,
Meaning one that somebody can live in.
Yeah,
So we do need a definition for it.
absolutely, I think.
yeah, I agree. And if you're amenable, what I would do is draft a definition if we don't already have one, or strengthen it. And then within this text state, accessory building structure or uses, and then at the bottom of the definition state, with the exception of accessory dwelling units. So it's very clear that we know that.
Yeah, something like that. What do you think, Ann? Or John?
Or just put a definition in there that can't be used as a living quarters. I mean,
And
So-
I think that, I like that. That's what I think is more clear, is that this accessory building cannot be used as living quarters.
right.
And then you
I-
have a
Joe, what
definition
do you
for
think?
the one
Yes.
that can.
That seems to be the distinction that everybody's focusing on without saying it.
Right,
Accessory building structures,
because
basically a
I've got a
garage
teeny
or a
tiny
shed,
shed that someone can live in if they
whereas
want.
an ADU has a kitchen and somebody can live there.
Right, exactly.
So this is critical, getting this delineation, because we recently, within the past 3 years, had a fire in a shed where their electrical cords were strung, burned the property to the ground with somebody trying to live in an accessory structure. So delineating that people can't live in a garage, I think, is critically important. Because certainly the homeowner insurance, if there was any, doesn't cover it. So this would be a really, really important to get the language perfect, so people are clear when they start to find and everything else, we have it.
In fact, I think that when you do the definition, Jared, accessory dwelling unit should be the first thing that we define. And then we go down as they become less important. I don't want to use it that way, but you're right, important.
And I think adding to the accessory dwelling unit where it's the livable one, and then in the one that's not livable, that it's stated in the not livable definition that it's not livable.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just
just to be clear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that.
Okay, so are we good with the definition then that he's got for accessory buildings?
I'm okay with that one because I
Yeah.
think that's covering just that specific thing.
Except for adding somewhere in there that
No people, you can't live
nobody
in
can live there.
it.
Okay, thank you. I have direction on that. Excellent. Caretaker unit, this is something that Community Matters had worked on, and I had fine-tuned a little bit. And when Attorney Berry and I talked about this, a question came up, and because she has a little bit more history behind the codes and behind development practices here. And her question's off to the side. It is not used anywhere else in chapter 21, caretaker unit. It was a use allowed in one planned unit zoning district and should be defined by that planned unit zoning document. So her question is, really, is this needed? Because it is defined in a document. We don't allow it pretty much anywhere else in the zoning section of the code of ordinances. So, I know I'm throwing you a bit of a curveball by bringing you a definition and then asking you if you think it's necessary.
Well, I find it now, after our last conversation, I find it kind of confusing because isn't it the same
Is it
as,
ADU?
yeah, the accessory dwelling unit that somebody can live in, but the only thing you're saying in here is that it's used by a person or persons hired by the owner to look after or take charge of goods on the property.
I think what he's saying is, and a PD is the same as a PUD, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what he's saying is that there was probably an RV park or something like that previously. And as part of the development of that RV park, it was given a plan unit development or plan development. Plan was made a
That one over there?
unique structure. And as part of that plan development process, they inserted into that basically a recognition of a caretaker unit. And that's the only caretaker unit that exists in this city. And so Carmen's question is, if we only have one, why do we need a definition?
And it's only under the RV
It's
status
only-
anyway.
Yes.
Okay, and we already know which one that is. That's the one over here by the sewer plant. I'm sorry.
And is
Not a
there,
good sell right there.
is there a caretaker unit on it?
Remember when we
Somebody
talked
lives there?
about it, they were gonna put a permanent unit so that somebody was there to maintain the RV park at all times.
Okay.
And that was gonna be a permanent piece of, like a permanent lodgy little thing.
That
I think there was gonna be like a shower and
Yeah,
something
exactly.
else
So-
there too, and,
It was probably zoned to not allow a consistent habitation,
right,
except for that one
for
unit.
that guy that was working there.
Okay,
So it is different, but do we need it in here? I don't think so.
well, but if it's zoned into the city and we do have it, shouldn't we have a definition in this?
In here?
Yeah,
But then it needs to be very specific that it's to
Yes.
this one RV park, and if we have another RV park in the future, it would be an allowable
so
use.
it's just a definition that would go,
Yeah, by having a definition.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make more a better continuity
Yeah.
of an ordinance if you had it as a line item on your table, but you don't have to. You can still have a definition and define something and not necessarily allow it in that table.
I don't think it hurts to have the definition. So if you ever do come across it, I mean, we're talking about the one individual, probably chances are there's never gonna be another one, but
But you never know.
you never know, but I think the definition's needed.
Either way, I don't care.
Yeah.
It says what it's supposed to be for. It's not like it's in your
Exactly.
backyard kind of thing.
Okay,
Yep, and I'm
You agree?
honestly somewhat neutral on the point, because we
I
can
know.
add it in.
Sorry,
we
I'm not
can-
trying to like overly hash it out for you, but
No,
okay, I would
Cool.
say we're
I'm good
agreeing
with that
to
one.
have it in where,
Okay. Porch, there's some, proposed updates to porch. Porch was a very, specific porch enclosed, the porch which is open to the atmosphere, at least two sides. We felt that that definition was a little too vague and are proposing to strengthen it a little bit. Porch is a covered shelter protecting in front of the entrance of a building. The structure is external to the walls of the building, but it may be enclosed with certain types of frames, including walls, columns, or screens extending from the main structure. The only one that I think might be a little strong is including walls. Oftentimes your porch doesn't have a wall. It has a fence or a railing or a screened in. I don't know that I would often call them walls, though.
well, are they thinking that the ends may be closed,
That could be the ends. could be-
meaning that's a wall? Instead of it just being open, which, kind of like, think of a screened in porch.
Hmm.
Well, even if, say, this part was walls and this part was screened,
I have a porch and it only has one wall. And
but it
that's my
has a
house.
wall,
And it-
so.
But it's my house wall.
Hmm.
It has
Okay,
to be there.
so what are you thinking that's not making sense here? To me, it makes sense. Maybe exposed with certain
I-
types of screens, including,
Is walls otherwise defined in the code?
yeah,
I
which
believe
walls?
so. Yeah.
That's a question, yeah, what's the definition of walls?
So I do think the sentence, the second sentence, the structure is external to the walls of the building. So I think that kind of encompasses that it will be outside of those walls. We could state something to the effect of abutting the maybe that's a better way to go.
I guess I'm trying to look at it, how would you get somebody that coming in, they'd want to build something? So they've got to go by what this definition is. Are they gonna think that they're gonna have the whole front of their house is gonna be the porch, which it could be, come out their front door, but then they're gonna make 2 more rooms off of it. Which you might want to put a wall there and use one as a closet to store stuff in it on your porch.
I guess I was thinking of it more as a means of allowing someone to truly enclose it as like an addition, a building addition rather than, that's where I guess my mind went.
Okay,
versus-
and I thought of that when you were reading this too. When you do a porch, do you want them to be heated? I mean, can you get to the point where you're building something under
Under
the
like a-
idea of a porch, but you're actually building a room, but you're not having to follow the same building codes, and then you're making it
There's gotta be,
more like a livable space?
more of a 3 seasons room versus a porch.
yeah, there's gotta be another definition for that, because I mean, in the south, the porches can be, it can be a sleeping room, but it's never used in the winter. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
Like our porch was in Florida, you would sleep out there in the summer, but you wouldn't sleep out there in the winter.
right. But I'm just thinking, would somebody use that angle to build it as, to do it year round and have heating and everything
You
in
could
it?
take walls out of there,
Yeah.
and that would suffice in that, you know, I mean, does anybody even come and ask us if they can build a porch? Have we had a porch? Yeah, so I'm gonna say I haven't heard of a porch in 15 years, so there's probably some illegal porches out there.
Just from my experience, I had a deck on my house. Although the deck had a room underneath it, it was still a deck. Did not have a roof. But I went through the process of getting a permit to turn it into an enclosed room
Okay,
Below it, above it,
above it.
okay.
but it wasn't a porch, it was just a deck.
Well, what wasn't, that's what I'm saying. Are we
Well-
discriminating between the deck and a porch by the roof?
I think the discrimination is, and it's not, is that if you're gonna turn it into a room, there's a process for doing that. Just for instance, I have a porch that the original house was just a little teeny weeny thing and now it's bigger. And Doug and I have also talked about making that into a mud room, not heating it, just enclosing it, using the solar to keep it warm, and that would be it. So it wouldn't be a room that I would say, hey, go out and sleep on the porch. That means you're kicked out of my house and that's as far as you get to go. But it would be, animals couldn't come in there, you have your shoes in there. So that's how I look at it, glass enclosed. And would I come to, I mean, of course, I'd come to planning commission and ask Diana or whomever, is that allowed? But as long as I wasn't turning into a living part of my space, I think it's okay. It's still gonna be counted as a porch. But you're a realtor, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay, I mean, because you would say it's just an enclosed porch when you do the description.
So what we're saying is this definition is fine,
It's fine, I think,
even
Okay.
with the walls.
because a glass wall is a wall. And if you have made a room, you went into the process of making a room, so that's added to your square footage of your house. Okay, correct? Right, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like we're good with that.
All right, excellent.
The next one, I don't understand.
Additional setback encroachment?
Yeah, I'm not, maybe it's just my dyslexia, but I'm not following you, so just hit me.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on.
I must confess that this is one that I wouldn't mind doing a little bit more work on yet. Because what this really envisions is you have your home, your principal structure, and the setbacks are really tight on that structure, right? Which happens a lot here in the city. There's a lot of tight lots. And so this though would allow you to say build a chimney, build a fireplace with a chimney, and that chimney would be able to extend into the setback.
Okay,
And it would be, under this, it'd be able to extend 18 inches, it looks like.
Okay, so you're saying the addition, okay, I get it now.
Yep, so that's realistically what's referring to, is that encroachment into a setback.
Which actually in a town like this and with the smaller lot lines and stuff would be an advantage to the homeowner.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
so I would say, yeah, you're going in the right direction on this, but if you wanna revisit it and add more to it, or?
Yeah.
I have a question on C.
Okay,
An uncovered deck and landing at ground level may extend into a required setback not more than 6 feet. Okay, if we have a setback of 5 feet on the side of the house,
yep.
you no longer have a setback. You're allowing the porch to extend to the property line. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think this is a wonderful point too, because I did have one in here prior, or actually it's my comment here. Should it be no more than half of the setback? Because I wondered that too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of your side yard setbacks are pretty narrow. I think this probably was more envisioned for a rear yard, where you do have a little bit longer of a setback instead of a side yard. But I agree, that was one of my questions, what you were comfortable with.
What do you think?
Well, I think the 50% would be better
I think so too.
than the 6 feet for sure.
Yeah, and that's probably just for ease of use for other people, because I mean, if you're going down those side yards and you've got that deck with the railing on it, I'm just looking at it as a
Yeah,
maintenance
you're
issue.
right up over to the property line again.
Yeah,
Right, because the 6 feet, it could be, what you're saying, it could be a 4 foot, and you could go up to the 6, so you're going all the way up to the 4.
You're able to go completely to your property line,
Right.
whatever the setback
Right.
is.
Not more than 6, though.
I agree, with the
Okay,
halfway
the
point is
50.
good with me.
Okay,
Okay,
if
so,
it's all right, I'll keep the 6 and add the 50, because I'd still like to have a maximum too.
Okay,
If it's okay.
50%, not more than 6 feet.
Yep, that's what I would propose.
but you still want to revisit this one?
I do, I think
Okay.
there might be a few other items to potentially include. A lot of this makes sense, like the gas and electric meters, those are oftentimes, kind of ancillary things that you don't even think about. And I know from a zoning perspective, we don't want to be running around saying, oh, you can't put your gas meter on the side of your house. The gas company is gonna tell us to go take a hike. So we might as well have it as acceptable, something that can improve. As an example, plot plan, so this just better defines what like a plat of survey, or which is what I like to refer to it, but a lot of people call them plot plans. What would be required of this, and this is in the development process and procedures, so this would be the process for submitting a new plan and really outlining what would be required to be on that plan.
Gotcha.
So it's something we didn't really have before.
Sounds like we're
Good idea.
agreeing on that one.
Yes.
Okay, gosh, we're moving right along.
Excellent. Site and building design standards, applicability. So we just wanted to add in the text that reference the standards and specifications for design and construction. This is what I like to refer to as our engineering document. It wasn't in here by association, at least in this section of the ordinance. We thought we'd combine that in.
Okay, so adding
Just,
string standards and specs.
yes.
Okay.
Design policies general, let's see here. Oh, this is in regards to the standards that the city had in place for sustainable development. Community Matters, and I agree with them, felt that this standard that we had in place was A, a little subjective, and B, a little onerous. Because pointing people to the lead ND document, which is a wonderful document, very thorough, very thought out, can lead smaller projects into a bit of an unknown. So you feel a little bit more overwhelmed in looking at those lead ND items. And instead, we sought to better define what the city truly wanted for the sustainability. But I know that sustainability is an interesting topic for a lot of people, and you may have some items. And by the way, as this is a work session, I am always more than happy to take comments after the fact. If you do have some more thoughts, please feel free to give me a call, email, or set the time to stop by.
So this lead, I don't think I ever noticed it in there,
Yes, I think it was,
long time ago.
but we were, and maybe I was pushing for this, because at the time it was like kind of the hot topic on how to get buildings up to sustainability codes. I mean, I do still think that we should go down this path. But Jared, if you want to find a way to make it more, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've been out in public, so having to
Probably
speak.
more.
Oh my God, such pressure. And I don't want to insult anybody. That's
It's
like
more
my big-
attainable for people to
Exactly,
get to it.
that's perfect, yeah, more attainable and more just understandable what we're looking for. Lead is just like it's like the pie in the sky.
Yeah,
How can we get down to something? And therefore, on the other flip side of that is these big, huge projects, these $1 million projects, if they ever come. I do think that there's a different probably step that they should be attaining, since they have obviously the money to do so. But if you're building a mother-in-law and it's within the right of way of your home and it's all like, and you want to kind of go to be as economical as possible, we still want you to do the best that you can, if that's possible. At least that's my point of view. You guys can.
So you like the directions he's going?
I do, and I think it's great that he's gonna be more descriptive of what that means.
and that concludes my reports. As I mentioned, there are some additional text amendments that I kind of held off on because I wanted to get the feel of the committee first before bringing it in. Especially, a 15-odd page document. I thought we'd ease into it a little bit. But I'm more than happy to take any comments, suggestions otherwise.
So is your goal to keep doing a running list of these and then get to the point where bring it in to get it adopted and move to city council to update the code?
Yeah,
Okay. What's your goal on that? Like
that's a
6
great,
months?
that's a great question. I do think that it'd be nice to work through the fall and try to get something maybe early 2022
Okay.
adopted.
Try to make it all encompass of everything you're trying to hit on and issues that we've had through.
Yeah, and I know in the past that it was really looked at as a little bit more of kind of putting some Band-Aids on places that we felt there were holes. I am trying to decide how much, if I want to work on some Band-Aids first and then do a bit more of a comprehensive. I'm still kind of struggling with that and determining in my own mind what approach I want to take. So I think because there has been some work in the past done, I didn't really want to just kind of throw all that out and start fresh, because I know that the committees have worked on things as well as, community matters. So I think what we'll probably do is we'll probably patch some of those holes, and then we might start to look at a couple sections in their entirety and start to work maybe from that perspective.
I would think that some of the ones that you want to address first are the ones that are so difficult for the decision-making process with the administrator, staff, and yourself, because the codes haven't been updated.
Diane,
And those are the ones that you might be fast-tracking more through with being constantly approached by developers.
and it sounds like John and Diane can certainly help
Yeah.
you with like putting those. to
And
the
it
top
sounds
of the
like that's
list.
what you're kind of doing.
There are some interpretation items that it wouldn't hurt for my day-to-day tasks to make a little more clear. So yeah, I might focus on a few of those.
Okay.
Well, welcome aboard. It's great to have you guys.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Are you finding it busy
Oh, yeah.
and you're loving it?
Yes, I have enjoyed the projects. As I mentioned, it's always interesting learning a new code. And so that's been, a little challenging because in the back of my mind, it's like, oh yeah, this is the answer. Oh, wait, no, it's not.
Well, we understand that you're gonna have a learning curve, by the way, and I think this is a cool group of people because our continuity is going back. Chuck, how long have you been on?
No idea.
Yeah, that's far.
That's good.
That far.
Not quite as long as Cindy.
That's far too, but yeah. So you've got a lot of people that are, we're patient, so take your time.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And
It's,
you've
yeah,
got great
very,
staff that will work with you too.
oh, absolutely.
And we need to keep you here, so.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and you don't talk too fast or too slow, which I'm digging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's good point.
Just throwing that out there.
Okay, so I guess we're done. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask us? Anything?
I-
Here?
Not, I did not.
Always get a question just to throw her off when she asks you that. Like,
Sure.
how many ducks in a baby's hatchling? That's my question for you.
Actually, we did some interviews and our new one was, if you had to be some type of a nut, what type of nut would you be? and why?
I'm already a nut. What are they, that is not the answer?
I thought it was a cool question, but,
I like it.
yeah.
I'd be a macadamia nut though, because they're delicious. Chuck, what nut would you be? Chuck's, it's, you
How do you answer a question?
haven't been in an interview in a long time,
You want
trust
to be a
me.
walnut, you want to be a pecan?
It is kind of, well, I had one guy say a peanut and you're like, no, you don't want a peanut. And then, another guy, he said something and, we said, well, why that nut? He says, because they're the best one. And I liked that answer.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
that's a pro-go, yeah.
Yeah, so, no, it's an interesting question in an interview process.
I'll let you
Yeah.
know.